Welcome to Street Smart Spirituality with your hosts, Barry and Cole, where each week we will be discussing diverse topics of spirituality, including the right use of will, A Course of Love, A Course in Miracles, The Way of Mastery, and much more. Join us on a global spiritual adventure with Cole in Australia and Barry in the U.S. And welcome to episode 4 of Street Smart Spirituality. This week's topic, the art of intimate relationship. And as usual, I am joined by Cole down in Byron Bay, Australia, and I'm your host, Barry. Cole, say hello to our fellow listeners.
Oh, hello, everyone. Thank you very much for your attention and for your beautiful comments. And actually, some of those comments have inspired me to actually talk about intimate relationships and how we can bring spirituality and our awakening to all of our parts of ourselves into a relationship, so one person doesn't feel like is not getting it or is left behind, and we think they're not getting it, and so we're going to address all of that today.
Excellent. And we've also got, at the end of the show, we've got a couple of questions, and the questions actually refer to what we're talking about for this episode, so that was pretty serendipitous. So why don't you go ahead and start your talk there, Cole.
All right. So first of all, our relationship to others, in particular our intimate partners, who we know so well, really comes down to how we're relating to ourselves and to our feeling part of ourselves. So like I said before, we have these main parts. We have this mind or spirit. We have the will, which is like a polarity of the spirit, which is a part of us that experiences. Yeah, feeling and experience are very different to thinking. And the biggest split that seems to be happening is not between you and God, or me and God, but me and me, which is the will part of myself. So that relationship to me is reflected outside of me. So it's very good to have some awareness of what is actually happening when we are with someone else, and particularly with someone else and doing our spiritual journey and transformation, whatever that is specifically for each person. So what I'm going to talk about is something called what I would call like a holy relating, like WHOLLY, holy, which is really close to holy. Holy and holy is the same thing, because if you not experience yourself totally, there's only part of you, and then there's also a chance in awakening that part of us is awakened and part of us is still asleep. And even so, this awakening seems so profound and incredible. It doesn't mean that it's actually a complete awakening. Yeah, complete awakening comes first. We awaken in our mind or our spirit, ignites. Then we have to ignite. Anyway, this is my experience. Ignite our feeling body, which is the will, or that part of us that experiences. They can have a new awakening. And awakening of those two create the heart. And heart then experiences and expresses and ignites the body. Because body is kind of a neutral entity. But these three in ignition create the body, which is the fourth aspect of us. And if any of these aspects is not awake, then we're only partially awake. For example, if you are controlling rather than expressing your feelings, means that you don't have acceptance for them. If you don't have acceptance for them, you're not loving them. allowing your own feelings. If you're not loving them, then you're obviously denying them. And when you deny, you do not have like all of yourself with you, because you are not accepting all of yourself. Now watch this. If you do not have all of yourself present with you in a loving acceptance within yourself, then you don't love yourself unconditionally. You cannot love anyone else unconditionally if you do not have all of yourself there to love them. Because unconditional love exists when all of you is loving all of that which you love. And so it's very important to be aware of these other aspects of ourselves when it comes to relating. So man usually represents more of this masculine, which is more of a spirit or thought aspect of creation. A woman represents more of the intuitive or feeling or the expression of creation. And when two people get together, what they're really looking at for is this love between them, which is the relationship. So it's not about the other or one or the other, it's about the relationship that is created that will fulfill us if we are relating with someone else. All of this can be how you relate to yourself. So the woman would represent more of the feeling, and the man represents more of the mind. So your partners usually reflect you. Like if you're a man and you have bad relationship to your feelings, that will show up in your relationship. Woman, as a feeling being, if she doesn't have a good relationship to her own mind, he will manifest that for her. I often hear people say like, oh, I've done this amazing workshop and I just don't know how my partner's gonna take this because he's so behind or she's so not with it. And I often address this as the importance of going, hey, he's only reflecting a part of you, not all of you. And he's reflecting that part of you that you might not necessarily be even aware that it's in you. It's like woman would naturally want to be more feminine, but she will then be in a denial of her own masculine. And without her own masculine, she can't truly be feminine. Because if a man opens her deep and then he goes away, her own presence will not maintain it and she will suffocate herself. Can be quite difficult to stay open in this world because this world is not really attuned to the feeling. So as you can see, this is quite a subject to unravel. How are we going so far? Barry?
Yeah.
Barry said something very meaningful right there. He goes, yeah. And that's kind of a very masculine thing. We say, us guys, we are like that. Like, it's all about nothing. It's a feminine. It's all about everything. You open my fridge, there is some batteries in there and maybe a beer. It's like, that's a full fridge. And then you go into a woman's room and then she's got these crystals and she's got these little things and something's hanging on the wall and something else is hanging on the wall. And, as time goes on, the room is magnetized. She magnetizes everything into herself. Whereas me we're like the electric is just like the less, better. It's like, how you doing, Barry? That's about as far as the masculine wants to go, is basically do absolutely nothing. Now here comes the feminine and inspires him to do something. And this is where a relationship comes in. But there's also, she will inspire him to look deeper into himself. And this is where the bickering and pressures and miscommunication can occur. So I'm just going to throw in straight away. Let's say you have a partner and you've been together for a long time, or you've been together for a while, but it's, the stuff came up. I want to show you something that's quite quantum right away. If you're listening together, this will be great. You can just do it right away. And it's about, look at your partner and begin to practice observance. So don't bring anything in from the past, zero. Just see if we can, for now, just put all that aside. Don't worry, we'll be waiting for you there. And it might be completely changed after this. You might want to not pick up some pieces that are pretty much unnecessary. So there you are, as you're looking at your partner, and let's say man, I would suggest that you, what is the beauty that you see? The beauty I see in you is, and then don't stop. The beauty I see in you is the start. And then deeply feel what this divine part of this woman is trying to actually express to you. Because grievances, you already know them all, but when you have grievances with your partner, you stop observance, you stop seeing the divinity in the other. And that not seeing the divinity in the other will choke you. Yeah? If you see your partner as not whole, you will stop seeing yourself as whole. And then you can be quite unpleasant in that. And a woman, if you can begin to see in this man his strength. The strength I see in you. Or even looking at what do you worship in this man? In this very moment, what's the qualities? And instead of just imagining them, see if you can allow yourself to feel them. And instead of saying it, you begin to transfer the feeling that you have. So he begins to get it. And then you might be surprised what you see. And when you do this in your own time, you can do it in such a way where one person begins and the other one's is trying to receive, because it's all about this giving and receiving of the gifts. And, for something to be given, there has to be a receptivity, there has to be a receiver. And this divine receptivity has been quite lost in our society, and unless we really practice it again, we can lose that sense of us that can really truly see. You begin to see with vision, which is nothing to do with imagery or imagining. You begin to see things as they really are. And we really all are divine beings, but do you see that in your partner? Because if you don't, you're in for a struggle and tribulations. So this is a very powerful practice to draw these different qualities that, because if you remind a woman how beautiful she is, she will be seen by you. And that's all she wants, but she will only see you when you can feel what you are saying. So let's say, you can start with things that are a bit more shallow, like, what she's wearing and how her hair is done. And that's kind of nice. But you want to take it to God, to totality. You want to tune more into her qualities, like emotional qualities, where you see her radiance, for example. I'm receiving the gift of your radiance. And it makes me want to take you all the way. Or, man usually says, I want to do this. Whereas when you see him, you say, I'm receiving the gift of your undivided presence. And it makes me feel... And here, you don't want to say it real quick. You want to really find that feeling that it is. And then imagine you can't speak, that you mute. And the only chance to get this feeling across is by feeling it more. So you pretty much feel it in your feet, in your legs, in your thighs, hips, everywhere. You feel it in your whole body. You begin to feel the vibration of that sensation, and it's as if you about to transfer it over to him. That's what we actually, in Course of Love, we call this a dialogue, where I'm not telling you a story, but I'm transferring my now experience. How am I really feeling? Where am I really? So that's something that can work immediately, particularly if you're in a relationship for a long time. You get into this habitual pattern of seeing that same face and all the things they do that mildly irritate you or bring you to a total fury. And those are all amazing gifts if they are used properly. And the second thing that I would like to talk about is importance of establishing safety with our partners. Because if something went wrong, even like 15 years ago, somewhere in there's a part of you that says, oh, I better be cautious because he might smack me even emotionally again. Or vice versa, you know. So, and it's like I said last time, it's very important to see that if we name safety as from 0 to 10, if we put a number on it, how safe do you feel right now with your partner from 0 to 10? And just be really honest, like, what is it really? And interesting with my clients that women feel more safer actually with men than men feel with women. And this could also be due the fact that most men actually feel quite inadequate when it comes to feminine, because they don't know what they're really, how their emotional intelligence, how evolved it is, and they're not in touch with their feelings, and so somewhere there is only part of them that's functional, and so this is where man, when he awakens, it's very important that he begins to work with his feelings and changes the relationship he has to his feelings to a point where he falls in love with his feelings. And then his feelings fall in love with him. Yeah, Barry?
Are you referring to physical safety or a spiritual, emotional safety? Can you elaborate on that?
Well, the best is to bring up things of the now. So if something happened a long time ago, we don't want to address that. We want to say, I would need you to feel. So let's do an example. So let's say, Barry, you ask me, how safe do you feel with me?
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. I need a definition of what.
So ask me the question.
Means.
Ask me, how safe do you feel with me?
Cole, how safe do you feel with me?
Okay, let's say I say 4, okay? And then you say, instead of going like, oh, God, that's low, you go, oh, great. So what's the first thing I need to do for you to feel safer? Say it.
What is the first thing I need to do to make you feel safer in this relationship?
Yes. So now I'm tuning in. I'm going like, what do I need to feel safe, you know? And then I say, oh, I just need you to slow down your thoughts, for example. And then you go, okay, let me try that. And then you start doing it. And as soon as you do that, I go like, oh, that feels good. So 6. I immediately let you know that you've gone up. Then you go, what else can I do for you to feel safer? Go ahead.
Oh. What else can I do to make you feel safer? Get you a beer?
Nice. That's like, you've gone down to 2.
Okay. You want a smack?
Yeah, that's like -3. So Yeah, so it's what what we're trying to do, we're going to lift it up to 10. So we actually create perfect safety. And this is where it's incredible, because this is so doable. And sometimes it's just a couple of words. Like my partner always goes, well, we do this as a first thing as soon as we meet. How safe? She goes, 5. What do I need to do? She goes, tune into me. I was like, oh yeah. Because I'm on my mission. I'm like following my bliss. I'm doing my stuff. And then suddenly there is she. And she's in her world. It's much slower. And it's all feeling and sensations and textures. And it's kind of a radiant quality. And I'm like on my mission, like, hey, from here to there. I'm like, I'm on a speed train, unstoppable in my journey. Like I'm elevated there. So I'm like up high, and she's like, she's like undulating in this lower frequency. So I have to come in, and if I really want to have a real meeting, I need to come down. She could come up a little bit. That's also quite fair. Until we find that vibrational meeting place. However, this kind of safety thing, it demonstrates in a feeling way what you need from the other, right? What would be helpful, yeah? And you obviously have to be even quite evolved to do this, because that can be quite confronting. But I guarantee you one thing: when you establish safety, it's like the parts of you that you might not even be aware of begin to open more. And out of nowhere, you find yourself in unity with your partner. And sometimes my clients say like, oh, this is how we felt when we first met. And I'm talking to some people who have been together for 25 years, right? I'm like, wow, so in between, did you have this? Says, no, we didn't. Because this is what happens. And this is also the whole falling in love. What actually happens when we fall in love, we actually fall into a holy instant. We reconnect to God. And in that reconnection, we see this person, and next minute we project on them anything possible. Like, oh, you're my savior. I so love you. And then vice versa. He goes like, oh, you're the woman, you're the one, right? And you had this holy instant, you had this incredible love happening. And then you're trying to fit it into all your sort of like a family history or your previous relationships, and you're trying to bring it into relationships of the world. But for example, what Jesus talks about, he talks about love that is not of this world. So you have an experience with someone that is not of this world, and then you're trying to bring it in here, but it's not of this world, and it virtually does not exist in a kind of distorted reality that we project out there. Because if you look at what's going on in the world, that looks pretty distorted to me. I don't know how you see it, but this is also the same thing that happens in a relationship. So it's very important to pause and connect deeply. Create safe container so he can be he and you can be you. And you'll be surprised if in this place you can actually be and have it the way you want it, and so your partner. Because we're not looking for her way or his way. We're looking for the third way. Where is my way and your way meet? Where can we unite? That you love one thing and I love another, but we can meet together. We have to create the third. That is the way of the heart. The way of the heart, even when you look at yourself, upper body is your spirit, lower body is your will. But there's a gap between them, and that gap is where the heart is. Heart is. And heart is the third way. It's that meeting place between the upper and the lower. Yeah? We have so many images of heart and love that often we forget what the real love is. Yeah, and it's that experience of absolute unity where you want with everything, where it's like an unspeakable love. And if you have this and your partner has this, that's beginning to something absolutely profound. Because the man becomes fully present with this fullness of knowing love is, which is a true masculine, divine masculine just pops. And he becomes erect in his whole being. And he's no longer thinking about sex or, some kind of performance. There's no anxieties because he's complete. He's in himself. And then he begins to embody that, and she begins to pick it up. She goes, oh, that's my man. And when he's truly in his masculine, he will automatically throw her into her feminine, into her divine self, which is her entire being, her spirit, her will, her heart, elevated in her body. So she's already tingling with love. And so you as a man are in love. She is in love. And now you meet and you merge this and you create the heart between you two. And that's just the most exquisite way of being, where everything begins. That's just the beginning. And now you're creating from love rather than from separations. I hope that makes sense what I'm talking about.
Sure.
And it's, yeah. So first you establish this safety, then you work on your trust. You can do it the same way. How much you trust me from 0 to 10. A woman says, 7, and he goes, what's the first thing I need to do for it to be 8? And women are so attuned, and they actually know what they want in a man, but it's very hard to do. You can't nag it out of him. You can only invite it. That's the real deal. See, masculine is more directive, whereas a feminine is more inviting. So when a man begins to tell a man when women begins to talk to man and telling him what to do, she's turning him into a little boy, right? So he begins to pussyfoot around, and she will hate him for it, She wants a man. She doesn't want a little baby running around and trying to please her, He wants a man who's embodied in his wholeness. He looks at her. He feels deep into her. She's showing him her true feelings, her vulnerability, her core. And then through that, he sees where to take that relationship. It's actually a masculine job to do that. Can you hear the difference in my voice right now? Because I just put myself more into that masculine directive presence.
Yeah.
And when I'm here, it's like I can feel my whole body begins to reverberate. Yeah, it's a tangible, even me here sitting as a man who's like a crocodile, right? Thick skin. I'm feeling, right? I'm feeling this feeling in, and if I keep going, I probably would have to stop talking.